The Young and the Restless spoilers. Shock-full episodes. Thurdays. Update September 12, 2024. The tension in the air was palpable as Lucy and Faith sat across from each other in the quiet corner of Crimson Light. It wasn't the typical place for a confrontation, but today was different. Lucy was no longer the passive, gentle girl that people could push around. She had learned how to stand up for herself, and she wasn't about to let Sharon or anyone else dictate her actions, especially when it came to Faith. Faith, on the other hand, was visibly uncomfortable. She loved her best friend, but the conflict between Lucy and her mother was wearing her down. Sharon had become unpredictable, consumed by the dark fantasies Cameron had implanted in her mind. Now, Faith was caught in the middle, torn between her loyalty to her friend and her fear for her mother. Lucy broke the silence first, her voice sharp and defiant. "I'm not going anywhere, Faith. I care about you, and I'm not just going to disappear because your mom can't handle the truth." Faith shifted in her seat, her hands twisting in her lap. "I know, Lucy, but it's getting worse. Mom's not herself. She's been saying things, doing things, and she blames you for everything. She thinks you're trying to take me away from her." Lucy's eyes darkened, her frustration boiling just beneath the surface. "I am trying to take you away from her, Faith. She's dangerous. You said it yourself. She's out of control. I'm not going to stand by and watch while she drags you down with her." Before Faith could respond, the door to the coffee shop swung open, and Sharon walked in, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on the two girls. She strode over with an intensity that made Faith tense up instantly. Lucy, however, didn't flinch. She was ready for whatever was coming. "Lucy." Sharon's voice was icy, her expression a mixture of anger and disdain. "I've had enough of this. You've done nothing but cause problems for my family. You need to stay away from Faith. I don't want you near her anymore." Lucy stood up, her chin held high. She wasn't about to back down, not now. "I'm not going anywhere, Sharon. Faith needs me, and I'm not going to leave her alone with you when you're like this." Sharon's eyes narrowed, anger flaring. "You think you know what's best for Faith? You don't. You're just a child, meddling in things you don't understand. I'm her mother, and I decide what's best for her." Lucy crossed her arms, her stance defiant. "You're not acting like a mother. You're acting like someone who's lost control, and Faith deserves better than that." For a moment, it seemed like Sharon might lash out, but then she took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "Stay away from her," she said, her voice low and menacing. "If you don't, you'll regret it." Faith, sensing the growing hostility, stood up quickly, placing herself between Lucy and her mother. "Mom, please stop," she pleaded. "Lucy's just trying to help. This isn't her fault." Sharon's face softened slightly at her daughter's words, but the coldness in her eyes remained. "Faith, you don't understand. This is for your own good. Lucy's just making things worse." Lucy stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "The only thing making things worse is you listening to this. This Cameron that you've made up in your head. Faith needs help, Sharon. You need help." Sharon glared at her, her fists clenched. "Get out of here, Lucy. I don't want to see you again." Lucy looked at Faith, her expression softening. "I'll always be here for you, Faith, no matter what." With that, Lucy turned and walked out of the coffee shop, leaving Faith standing alone with her mother, torn between the two people she loved most. Meanwhile, across town, in the shadows of Newman Towers, another battle was brewing. Nikki and Lily had met in secret, a shared frustration with Victor bringing them together. Their motives were different, but their goals were aligned. Both women were tired of being treated as pawns in Victor's never-ending game of power. Nikki, though once fiercely loyal to her husband, had grown disillusioned with his constant need for control. Lily, who had been burned by Victor in more ways than one, saw an opportunity to strike back. As they sat in a quiet office, their conversation was filled with the tension of betrayal. "Victor's losing it," Nikki said, her voice a hushed whisper. "He doesn't trust anyone anymore. Not even me." Lily nodded, her eyes narrowing. "He's been pushing everyone away. He thinks he's untouchable, but we know better." Nikki glanced around, making sure they were truly alone. "We have to be careful. Victor isn't going to let anyone stand in his way, but I'm done playing by his rules. It's time for him to face some consequence." Lily leaned forward, her voice serious. "You're willing to go through with this? even if it means losing everything? Nikki met her gaze, unflinching. Yes, Victor needs to learn a lesson, and if that means I lose him in the process, so be it. He's pushed me too far. Their plan was risky. Both women knew that Victor wouldn't go down easily. He had spent years building his empire, and he wouldn't let anyone take it from him without a fight. But Nikki and Lily were ready. They would find a way to undermine him, to take away his power, even if it meant playing dirty. Victor, however, was not a man to be underestimated. He had built his life on being several steps ahead of everyone around him, and Nikki's betrayal, if discovered, would ignite a firestorm that could destroy everything. The stakes were high, and both women knew they were walking a dangerous line. Back at the Newman Ranch, Nick and Mariah were still grappling with the question that had been haunting them for weeks. How could they save Sharon? "She's not the same, Nick," Mariah said, voice filled with frustration. "This obsession with Cameron is consuming her. She's not thinking clearly. Every time we try to talk to her, she shuts us out." Nick nodded, his own frustration evident. "I know, but I can't just give up on her, Mariah. She's Faith's mother. She's still Sharon. Somewhere in there, the woman we love is still there." Mariah looked at him, face conflicted. "I want to believe that, but she's not listening to anyone. She's too far gone. Cameron, whether he's real or not, has her convinced that she's doing the right thing. That makes her dangerous." Nick sighed, rubbing his hands over his face. "Phyllis keeps telling me to stay away. I can't. I have to help her. I owe it to Sharon and Faith to try." Mariah reached out, placing a hand on her brother's shoulder. "I get it. But Nick, we have to be smart about this. We can't push Sharon too hard, or she'll shut down even more. We need to find a way to reach her, to break through whatever hold Cameron has over her." Nick nodded, though the weight of the situation was pressing down on him. He had been through so much with Sharon over the years, but this felt different. This felt like the end of the line if they couldn't find a way to bring her back. As the days continued to pass, Sharon's grip on reality seemed to slip further away, leaving her family torn between hope and despair. Would they be able to save her from the darkness that had consumed her? Or would they lose her forever to the ghost of Cameron? "What exactly are you asking me to do?" Michael asked, his tone serious. Nikki didn't hesitate. "I need you to help me find a way to take away his power. He's built his entire life around Newman Enterprises, and it's made him reckless. We can weaken his hold on the company, make him realize that he's not invincible. Maybe then, he'll start to see the damage he's causing." Michael frowned. "You want to undermine him at Newman? That's not going to be easy, Nikki. Victor has safeguards in place, layers of protection. Taking him down from the inside won't be simple." Nikki's eyes flashed with determination. "I know it won't be easy, but I don't care how difficult it is. Victor needs to lose something. Something big. It's the only way he'll wake up and realize what he's done." Michael nodded slowly, understanding the stakes. "So you're willing to sacrifice your own position at Newman? You're ready to lose everything to teach Victor this lesson?" "Yes," Nikki said without hesitation. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I've stood by him for years, but I won't stand by and watch him destroy himself and everyone around him. This has to end." Michael's mind was already working through the logistics of what Nikki was asking. It would take careful planning, but it wasn't impossible. Victor's power was built on control. Control of the company, control of the people around him. If they could find a way to chip away at that control, to make him vulnerable, they might just be able to bring him to his knees. "It's a dangerous game, Nikki," Michael warned. "If Victor finds out what we're planning, he won't hesitate to retaliate. And you know better than anyone how far he's willing to go." Nikki nodded. "I know, but it's a risk I'm willing to take."